Hello everyone, this is going to be a little bit different as I'm not actually talking over the video this time. Well, I am, but I'm not reacting as I do this. This is instead going to be a little bit of a read through of a chapter I've written. I'm going to try and keep these up on a regular basis, but let's face it, inspiration can sometimes refuse to strike. So, this is a mystery that I'm starting with, that I'm going to call it Escape. Chapter 1, Somewhere Else. The cold touch of the container was not what woke me, but the sudden lack of air inside. My vision is clouded by an orange haze and the scent of what I can only describe as bananas. I gasped for what little air was still inside this place while I pressed my hands against the glass showing the outside. The chilled surface held my handprint for a second before slowly disappearing, and my eyes focused slightly on the concrete walls and ceiling outside, as well as the 3 other containers, similar to my own, and shadowy figures inside each one. Pressing harder against the glass, I cough, feeling the air getting thinner inside as I begin to beat against the hard glass and try to scream for help. My voice draws on more air, making my efforts harder as my movements get slower and my head begins to ache. I cough for a moment, pressing my hand against the container itself before feeling a jolt go through my body, and I feel myself energized. Then notice the sparks flowing around my hand. I place my hand against the cold metallic container and feel myself connect to something. Then the container opens, cracking along some rubber seal before I aggressively push against the glass again and open the container the rest of the way, feeling the air hit against my face, then coughing again as I breathe in the foul-smelling substance in the air. As I exit the container, I look down at my hand to see the electricity flow around it, noticing that it flows around both hands, tingling in some odd fashion before I jump back as someone appears in front of me. The man in front of me, appearing just as surprised by the appearance as I am, has short blonde hair and brown eyes. His clothing is blue jeans and a t-shirt, and he has gray around the goatee and hair. Not much, but enough to show that he is aging, though his skin appears much more fine in contrast. And he towers over myself, making me think he is either 7 feet tall, or perhaps just half a foot taller than me. Based on his appearance, I feel that his age is close to mine before I hear one of the other containers pry open. Both I and the man in front of me look toward the container to see a long black blade, shimmering in what little light is here, piercing through the glass, and a hiss of air begins to escape the pod. The blade cuts through even more, appearing to sharpen itself as it cuts down then up, before a section of the glass is removed and a man steps out of the pod, gasping the new air. Much like myself, he coughs as he breathes in the new air. He stands shorter than myself, wearing black shorts and a t-shirt. His hair is graying, much like my own and the tall man across from me, and his eyes are a faded blue with one eye slightly off-center, and he wears glasses. He is slightly overweight and holds a pure black sword. He looks down at the sword, dropping it as he seems surprised that it is even there, and it vanishes into the shadows of the room. We stare at each other for a moment before hearing the last pod violently shake. Electricity curls around my hands, and the shorter man pulls another blade from his own shadow, both of us slightly surprised at each other and ourselves before turning our full attention toward the last pod as it shakes more and more violently. Cracks appear in its structure before breaking open, and a bear bursts out of it. The bear looks at the 3 of us, staring in confusion before roaring and closing its eyes. The tall man suddenly disappears while me and the short man run behind our respective pods, watching the bear's limbs slowly change into human limbs. The fur pulling back and clothing taking its place as he fully changes into a human. He is panting in pain, wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt, his hair receding, much like my own. As he fully changes into a human, he is panting in pain, wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt. his hair receding, much like my own. His eyes green, and what hair is there is touched with gray and red. He resists falling to the ground, standing up as he looks at the rest of us. "Where am I?" he asks, his voice shaky and slightly accented, though I cannot place from where. The tall man steps out from around his pod. "I was hoping you knew," the tall man says, his voice accented as well, though again, I can't tell from where. The short man drops the shadowy blade, causing it to disappear. "Who are all of you?" he asks. "Why were we all in the pods?" His voice, like the others, had an unknown accent, each of them sounding like they came from some foreign country. Thinking that with how all of us were reacting to our own abilities, I wonder if we were experimented on before asking, "Were any of you born with these?" I pause, trying to think of a different word to call them, before one of the others finishes my question. "Powers?" the tall one asks. I was trying not to call them that, but if the shoe fits, I say, looking at everyone shake their head. "Then it is fair to say that someone kidnapped us to experiment on us," I add, looking around the room. "We should be careful, but we need to look for an exit and try to see where we are." I start to move before stopping again. I'm Richard. The tall one looks between everyone. "Aaron," he says. The shadowy one looks at the pods. "Victor," he says. The animal powers one moves toward the wall, looking at them, answering without facing us. "Simon," he says. I nod at the hours before taking in the rest of the room. Besides the 4 pods positioned toward each other and sitting about 10 feet from each other, the room has a flickering incandescent light positioned above each pod. Each pod is also resting against a concrete rectangular pillar, with a wire leading up to the ceiling. The room itself is about 15 feet high and between 45 and 50 feet long. Its width around 35 and 40 feet. The floor is concrete, though covered in dirt and oil, mostly surrounding the 4 pods. Looking at the other 3, I can see that each of them are testing out their powers a little more. Victor reaches into the pod, pulling out a bar, staring at his shadowy creation as he begins to manipulate it like he were molding clay, slowly changing it into a bat before sharpening the edges, then molding it further to create a ball. He presses against the ball and shows that it has elasticity, then tries to bounce it, causing it to vanish the second it leaves his hand. Looking at Simon, he stares at his hand. Fur grows on it, which causes him to wince as the fur grows a little before reverting back. He closes his eyes, grunting a little before opening them up again and revealing 2 cat eyes, which revert back to normal. He grunts again and his nose shifts a little before reverting again, which causes him to stop as he pants from the experience, seeming to slow his breathing while he calms himself. Aaron appears in front of me and it causes me to fall to the ground, some electricity flowing around my body in response. "Oh, sorry," he says, lowering his hand to help me up, then stopping as electricity flows around my arm. I smirk as I look at my hand a little more. "I suppose we should be more careful about ourselves before finding out where we are," I say, getting up off the ground as I watch the electricity fade from my body, and I get a little tired. "You could shut it off?" Aaron asks, obviously noticing that it has been active this entire time. "I think so, but I don't think I did," I say, slowing my breathing as I notice the stairs to my left. Though the good news is, I gesture toward the stairs, I found the exit. The 4 of us turn toward the stairs, cautiously approaching them. I attempt to remain optimistic, though with the fact that we all still have no idea where we are, remaining that way is proving somewhat difficult, and with these newfound powers, well, there might be some optimism to be found in the situation.